Hello and welcome to my booktube channel, Jack in the Book Stack, where I talk about a wide variety of book genres and the bookish lifestyle. At this point, we are almost halfway through 2024, so I'm going to do the infamous book tag, the mid-year book freakout tag. This really helps me reflect on what I have read so far and talk to you about some of the highs and some of the lows of what I have experienced in my reading journey. At this point, I have read, almost 100 books. I might have lied to you a little bit in the title or the thumbnail of this because I've read 98 books at this point. But I'm in progress with a bunch and I'm gonna get there to 100 before even the midway point of the year. It's just this is how my content schedule kind of came together. So sorry for that little itty bitty lie, but it's more of an exaggeration. It rounds up. I've read 100 books this year and I'm so excited to talk about some of them with you. This is my third time doing this mid-year freakout tag, and I will link the other years down below, 2022 and 2023, so you can check those out. I will also list all the questions down below for you so that you can do this book tag yourself and follow along. And if there's any corresponding reading vlogs or book reviews for any of these, I will also link those down below for you. Before we get into my answers for all of these questions, I want to hear from you in the comments down below. What is your favorite book that you have read so far in 2024? Don't overthink it. First thing that comes to mind, drop it in the comments. I want to see what has won over your heart, what sticks in your mind. I am just so curious. I love to see what people are passionate about. Without further ado, let's get into things with question number 1. What is the best book that you have read so far in 2024? This one is a little bit tough to answer. We are just coming out of the gate strong with this one, talking about the best. I have two options. Because the first one, I have a little bit of recency bias because I just finished this like a week or two ago. The book is My Husband. This is a literary fiction that is translated from French. It is about a woman who is completely obsessed with her husband, and she is totally unhinged. I love an unhinged narrator. And the obsession she has, the little tests and trials that she puts him through is just so funny as she like spirals out of control. And this had a great tone to it because she's so crazy. It was kind of like a satire. It was very lighthearted. It was a great escape. And no matter what your relationship status, I think this will make you feel grateful for what you have. And the epilogue really, truly blew my mind. I adored this book. It gave me so much of what I was looking for. So that's why it's one of my favorites. But since I just finished it, I don't know if that's fair for this to take the title so far. I need some time to let it marinate. So I do have a backup option. I was going through looking at all the books that I've read so far this year, and there's one that really stood out to me as just being a masterpiece from the author. The book that I am talking about is Best Served Cold by Jo Abercrombie. This has a lot going for it because it is a tale about revenge, which is one of my favorite topics. In fact, I did a video talking about the best revenge stories that I recommend for you because it's just one of my favorite, I don't know if you'd call it a trope or like a plot point. It's an element of books that I really, really enjoy. And so that's why I picked this up. It is a standalone, but it's part of his First Law universe, so I do recommend reading them in order, but this has new characters introduced, and it's those characters that were really magical to me because they are grungy and gritty and dark, unapologetically violent, and that isn't necessarily my jam. My Disney heart can't really endorse that, but they were so endearing. How Jo Abercrombie could make me care about these violent characters is a testament to how brilliant he is. And the humor that he sprinkled into this book is incredible. I was laughing out loud, and these characters are so incredibly vibrant and unique. Each one has a very different personality and identity. You can just feel the difference between all of the characters in this book. The plot was really interesting, and it really stuck with me, but it stuck with me because of the writing and the characters. So this is definitely going to be a contender for my favorite book of the year. Question number 2. What is the best sequel that you have read so far this year? That one was kind of difficult because I have done pretty well continuing progress in reading series, and what I've been trying to do is read like an entire trilogy within 1 month so I don't forget the details. It's really challenging. But I think when I was considering them, I think I want to land on the Drowning Empire series. And this is also one that I did a dedicated reading vlog for. So if you want to see more about why I enjoyed this, what this trilogy is about, and if it would be a good pick for you, definitely check out that video, which I will link down below. I really liked book 1, which is The Bone Shard Daughter. I enjoyed it. It was intriguing. But really when we get to the sequel, book 2, and if we're like defining sequel as just additional books, book 3 was also pretty good. But this series has such an interesting magic system with bone shard magic that sounds really, it almost has like a dash of horror to it when you're dealing with someone's bones, like inserted into another being that can control them. That sounds kind of like horror. And I liked that element. So I really, really like the magic system. There's a lot to keep track of in this. And so we got the foundation in book 1, but book 2 is really where a lot of the magic started to make sense to me, even as we got more elements in this. And the characters that we were following, their perspective individually, they come together in this one, and you see how things are going to play out and what these characters are really facing. And so I liked that. I liked getting the clarity of the magic. I liked the connection of the characters, the plot. There's just so much going on, and we have characters that are strong but also incredibly intelligent and strategic, which is really my thing. I like when they can talk their way out of situations. All of these characters have like a good moral compass, and they're just trying to make things better for the people. So I enjoyed the trilogy. I love the trilogy overall, but really it was my love was solidified in books 2 and 3. Question number 3. What is a new release that you have not read yet but you want to? So there is a book that was released March 28th, 2024 called The Murder at the End of the World. This is by Stuart Turton, who is also the author of The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, which was like a murder mystery, but it had like the sci-fi element of like a time loop that I really, really adored. And in fact, this book is on my short list to reread because I want to re-experience it. But first, I want to check out his latest release. It's been a while since Evelyn Hardcastle came out, so looking forward to reading this one. And it sounds to have that same murder mystery element, but with a magical overlay. So this is kind of dystopian because this fog has taken over the world and eliminated humankind. And the only remaining people exist on this island, and they're protected from this fog. However, someone dies, someone's murdered, and they have a limited number of hours to solve that murder. Otherwise, the fog is going to come in and take the remaining people. One problem, all their memories have been wiped out. So they don't know, they could even be the culprit and they wouldn't even know it. This one sounds really interesting. The audiobook just became available today. That's why I kind of picked this one for this question, because it's top of mind. I'm going to be listening to it soon. And I actually had this one on my radar. Like I was tracking the release date, but then other priorities kind of pushed this down the priority list and it just became available. So I am very much looking forward to trying this book out. Question number 4. What is your most anticipated release? I'm assuming this means one that hasn't come out yet. And I'm just gonna be like a sheep follower and say what I think majority of booktubers are gonna say. I'm looking forward to Wind and Truth in December, which is going to be book number 5 in the Stormlight Archives, the epic fantasy series by none other than Brandon Sanderson. And I am reading this series for the first time. I have finished books 1 and 2, and I rated them like 4 and 4.5 stars. I'm really loving them, and I'm excited to continue with this journey. So you might be wondering, like, how can I be so excited for book 5 when I have yet to start book 3? And I think because this is a year-long project all targeting this December release, it's like a huge, it's just going to be a huge accomplishment. It's going to just finish out the year wonderfully with this project. I have like reading vlogs for each and every book that I'm reading in this series, and it's just been such a fun adventure. So that is why I'm looking forward to it. Question number 5. I am going to spill the tea. I'm going to tell you my biggest disappointment so far this year. I hope I don't have anything that I dislike as strongly as this. In fact, what's heartbreaking is there are 2 books for this answer. So I did a reading vlog, which I will link for you down below, where I thought it'd be a lot of fun to read some Irish books getting ready for St. Patrick's Day. So little me is so excited and looks at all the recommendations, and I was looking at the Booker Prize and the ones that made the long list and the short list of nominations for like the best books of the year, and I picked 2 of those because they fit into my Irish theme. So book number 1 was The Bee Sting, and the synopsis of this sounded so very, very cool. I love the idea of intertwining fates and kind of like the butterfly effect. If you would have done one thing differently, how it could have changed the course of your life. And that's really what I was expecting with Bee Sting. But what I got, and this was a mammoth of a book. It was so freaking long. It was horrible. It was so bad. The author tried too hard to be artistic with their writing, and so I didn't like, there were 4 different perspectives following this family, and tried to be edgy with one of them, with like the grammar, like playing a lot with grammar rules is what I'm trying to say. And the story was just so pointless. I didn't feel connected to anybody. I did not care about a single one of them. I just really disliked this book. Could not, like, I try so hard, even when I dislike a book, to say what reader could benefit from it, and I have not a single nice thing to say about this book. And I'm so disappointed by it because this was nominated for an award. How is that possible? Who thinks this is good? If you think I'm passionate about that disappointment, then you are in for a rant with The Bee Sting, which actually won the Booker Prize for 2023, I think it was. Again, how do people, educated, well-read people, think this is a good book? This was awful. This goes on my list of the worst books I've ever read. So not only can I not recommend it to a single person, I try not to judge, but I kind of actively judge people that like this book because I don't understand why. The plot seemed to be a copy-paste from so many other stories that I have read that I was like, how is this not being criticized for being plagiarized almost? I mean, but the storyline is so broad about, you know, a country losing control and the citizens being like victims of their government, right? And people are being killed in the streets and the government's against us and trying to get away. Like the main character was so awful. So selfish, and yet she was trying to say that she was looking out for her kids, like, we have to stay because my husband, and I'm like, how are you not seeing what's going on around you? But beyond just a frustrating plot and a character that I found frustrating, again, playing with the rules of grammar, you can't do it, okay? Because you need quotation marks around your dialogue, or a dash at least. You need something to indicate something is being verbally said versus an internal thought versus a dream sequence. I cannot tell you how confusing this was. I didn't understand what was going on. I was so disoriented. Okay, I could rant about this. If you want to hear more about what this book is about, check out that reading vlog. I don't normally like to rant about books, but these 2 in particular just really got me this year. Now we're on to something more positive for question number 6. What was your biggest surprise so far in the year? That has to be Spinning Silver. This is interesting because it is heavily praised on BookTube and Bookstagram. I see this recommended. However, someone in my real life said I probably wouldn't like it because of certain elements that I've made clear I don't like before. I don't like a lot of alternating POVs that make it hard to connect to the characters. I don't necessarily like POVs of children. I don't like when you start a chapter and you don't know whose perspective you're in. That really frustrates me. And that's the writing style of this book. And I think we have a perspective of like a 5-year-old. And there were a lot of characters and different storylines that you have to keep track of. So on paper, this should not have been something I enjoyed, but I'm so happy I gave it a shot because I loved the ambiance of this. I love the whimsical fairy tale vibes. It's kind of like a Rumpelstiltskin inspired tale. Most importantly, the characters. We have 2 female main characters that I thought were so strong and so intelligent. I love a girl that knows her finances and knows how to make money. That is so cool. And like the strategy of these characters, the strength of them, I really, really loved Spinning Silver, and it surprised me. Question number 7, favorite new author. This is a difficult one for me. I don't know. I don't know if I have a favorite new author or not. I don't necessarily auto-buy because of an author. I buy based on if the book sounds interesting or good. So this isn't a new author or new to me, but I'm going to say Brandon Sanderson, simply because, I mean, I have a dedicated playlist to me reading a bunch of his books. I've really enjoyed them, and they just continue to knock me off my feet. Like, he's so good with his characters. The magic system is so intricate. But particularly, it's like the tone of his books. I can be heartbroken and yet have my heart warmed at the same time. And so his books are always truly an escape. I escape with these characters and this magic in this world, and it just takes me out of my emotions, whatever I'm feeling, and just puts me in this situation. So I really, really love Brandon Sanderson, and I continue to love him. Question number 8, a new fictional crush. This one's also difficult because I don't really get fictional crushes. So, okay, I'm gonna address this with 2 answers. So a male main character that I've been introduced to that I really enjoy, which is kind of like almost duplicating the next question or the next prompt, but whatever. It's my booktube video. I make the rules here. A male main character that I really appreciate, admire, respect is Kaladin from the Stormlight Archives. So now, don't spoil things for me. I might make a fool of myself if things turn book 3, 4, 5, but I've read 2 books in the Stormlight Archives, and I really enjoy Kaladin. He has his demons, he's been through some things, and he is very strong. He's like a strong fighter and warrior soldier, but he is so kind. And he struggles sometimes with what the right decision is, but he is a fantastic, fantastic leader. And I just love, it sounds bad, I love seeing his struggles because I love seeing his growth and where he's going, where he's at right now at the end of book 2. So hopefully I continue to mean that. The next way I'm going to answer question number 8 is with my favorite fictional couple. So I read the contemporary romance Float Plan, and I read this for a reading vlog, and it was at a time, it was in May when I was reading all nautical books, and this had a fantastic nautical theme, and I talked a lot about this book and why I loved it and what the plot is, so you can check that out for more details. But this was my favorite couple because I really liked their chemistry. Our main character, Anna, is dealing with grief from losing her fiance 10 months ago. He made the decision to take his own life, and so she's struggling with a lot of grief. And she meets, how to pronounce his name, Keen? K-E-A-N-E. Keen. I'll call him Keen. And I just love how patient he was with her and how he still called her on some things, but in a very kind way. So kind of called her out like, hey, are you just trying to live out his bucket list and his greatest wishes, but are you losing yourself? Like, is this something you really want to do? And he would question her on it. And I like how he did that in a kind way. And I liked seeing their chemistry build over time, how they worked together, the different adventures they went on together. One of my favorite things about this book was the adventure of it. And that really helped build the chemistry and the bond between them. And they both had their trauma and their experiences that they're carrying with them, and how they each addressed each other was just fantastic. And I loved this couple. Question number 9, new favorite fictional character. So this is what I was saying. It's a little bit of overlap if I'm talking about my favorite male lead character, but I have a different answer for it. So I'm not just duplicating things. But I read Red Seas Under Red Skies, which is book 2 in the Gentleman Bastard series. And we follow a character named Locke Lamora. And reading book 2 in this series, I think I can officially say Locke Lamora is one of my favorite fictional characters. He's a con man. And he has a golden tongue. He can talk his way out of almost any situation. He is hilarious. His dialogue is so funny. And his banter with others is so funny. And how he talks himself into trouble and out of trouble. I love hanging out with him. In addition to that, he strategizes great cons. Very brilliant. The different angles he has. And the different scenarios that he builds to get what he wants. Also, I love the platonic friendship he has with his buddy Jean, and how protective they are of each other, and so how Locke really looks out for him, wants what's best for him, wants to sacrifice for him and be there for him. And there's some tough love between them sometimes, but gosh, I just love Locke Lamora, and I am looking forward to reading the 3rd book in this series, but I think the series is unfinished, so I'm going really slow with it. But I just definitely new favorite fictional character, Locke Lamora. Question number 10, a book that made you cry. Okay, so this might be spoiling a reading vlog that I am currently filming, but we're just gonna take that risk because we're friends here, right? You're gonna watch both videos. I know you are, because I know that you are already subscribed and that you've liked this video. Am I right? I hope I'm right. I have just freshly finished Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. This is book 1 in the Tawny Man trilogy in the overarching realm of the Elderlings. It's book number 7. So I'm pretty deep in this world now. And this book made me sob. Uncontrollably. And then later, when I was talking to my boyfriend about the book and I thought I could finally talk about it because he was asking me how it was going, I started sobbing again, and like the ugly cry, like gasping for breath. Like when I'm filming this mid-year freakout tag, I haven't wrapped this book up yet for that vlog because I just need to be able to talk about it without breaking into tears. But luckily I won't be doing spoilers, so I don't think, you know, I'll really get into it. That'll make me cry again. But yeah, I'm not even ashamed. I'm not even ashamed that this book made me cry. And it's because of the characters, because you are so connected with these characters. If you are a character-driven reader, I hope that you have read The Realm of the Elderlings, or you intend to, because it is just beautiful. This is written in the first person. We follow Fitz, and he was the main character in books 1 through 3. So we're back with him and his buddy, the Fool, and there's an errand that they go on. And just the connection with these characters, the writing that Robin Hobb did, it just moved me so much, and on a personal level too, but I think you have to be made of stone not to cry in this book. Number 11, a book that made you happy. This is from another one of my favorite authors. I think it might have even been my answer for last year's mid-year freakout. I'm talking about T. Kingfisher. Brilliant, brilliant author. But I finally got around to reading her book, Sword Heart, which is a fantasy romance. And the humor in this was top-notch. I love the tone of this. This was so much fun. We have a woman who is struggling to get her inheritance that is rightfully hers, but the family of the deceased doesn't want her to have it. And she takes out this sword because she's given up. She's gonna unalive herself because she sees no other option. And this genie like pops out of the sword and decides to protect her and help her to get her inheritance. And the journey they go on is so much fun, like a little bit of quest vibes, but it's like the relationship between her and this sword, essentially, like the tests they do to see like the boundaries of the magic around the sword. So much fun. Such a great tone, like light-hearted but not comical, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't cartoonish. I still felt some emotion to it. The plot was very engaging. There were betrayals, there was some action. This book overall just made me super duper happy. Question number 12. what is the most beautiful book that you've gotten this year? I've gotten a lot because I am subscribed to Fairy Loot and Illumicrate. You can see like the beautiful stenciled edges down below there on my shelf. So I've gotten a lot of beautiful books, but I think they all don't compare to Empire of the Damned. And this is like sitting out on my desk because I'm actually going to pick this up tonight. So I'm really excited. I mean, it's a long one, so we'll see if I finish it in this month to put it in my wrap up. But look at this stenciled edge. Isn't that the most intricate, beautiful, eerie, spooky design that you have ever seen? And I absolutely love the artwork on the dust jacket that Illumicrate did. And the naked hardcover is also beautiful. You see that design there? I think, oh, I love the gold and the white. This is so pretty. I think this book is awesome. I love the vibe of it. I mean, this is book 2 in a series. It's the follow-up to Empire of the Vampire. So we're talking about vampires. We're talking about some horror type things. So I love the tone of this and the darkness. I think this is just so beautiful. This is perfection. The final question, question number 13. What is a book that you have to finish before the year is out? Well, I did a video at the beginning of the year listing 24 books to read in 2024. And here is my progress so far. So you can see what books that I still have to read, and I am on track to read all these before the end of the year because I kind of schedule out my reads like every month, and putting at least two books in for a month is, makes it a lot more manageable. You can see that I have finished book 1 in The Tawny Man. I'm going to read the other 2 this month. Got some horror books saved for spooky season, and I love reading Kindle Unlimited books in the summertime because I love taking my Kindle out to the pool, so those will be read in the summer. So everything's divided up quite nicely, and I will be finishing those before the year is up. Those are all my responses to the prompts for the mid-year freakout tag. I hope that you have already commented down below in the comments with your favorite book so far in the year, and I am so curious to see how all my opinions change when the year is out. When I do my year-end review of all my favorite books, I wonder if I'm going to read anything else that's going to completely blow these away, because honestly there is potential for that. I have some 5-star, 6-star predictions coming up in the second half of 2024, so I can't wait to keep reading. Thank you so much for hanging out with me in this video as always, and thank you for subscribing because I know you've done it. I will see you in the next video.